10 teams.
Watch what you say. I think we're live.
Oh,
Just on Twitch,
I'm,
not
I'm, I'm getting, yeah, I'm getting quite a bit of questions on the Fantasy Bros handle on Instagram, which by the way, I think is going really well, gentlemen. If you're watching
yeah,
anything that I'm
I see that.
posting,
I see you grinding. Got,
Kyle.
got the ID game on point.
Yeah, I'm new to that game, boy. So you think it's all right though?
Yeah.
Any any suggestions?
All right, we should be live. Um, yeah, I think we're live.
Okay.
Let me see.
Let me know when you guys have it pulled up,
Oh yeah.
and we'll do the 1, 2, 3 and try to hop in the same one.
I got it pulled up.
All right, we are live at the basically.
Oh,
Hold on, I'm just gonna give a little intro. We are.
now go. Sorry, I wasn't recording.
Are you recording?
Yeah, I'm recording now.
All right, we are live on Twitch, and this will also come out in podcast form here very soon. We are live at pretty much the tail end of the Best Ball Mini Championship. The full Best Ball Championship is drawing up pretty small right now, but that might give us a chance towards the end of the preseason to get some overlay. But for now, we're going to fire off some of the last Best Ball Championships of the night. So, everyone, are you ready?
Ready when you are. Give us a 3, 2, 1 countdown.
It'll be 3, 2, 1, go. All right. 3, 2, 1, go.
Are we all in? 11 out of 12?
That's a bad sign. Okay, I think at least 2 of us are going to be in, though. Looks like...
Justin. No, we're all 3 in.
No kidding.
Yes.
All right, let's see where we're picking from. We are picking from...
Justin got the 9, and Kyle, you got the 12.
All right.
So it's not filled yet, right?
No, it is. It'll start in 30 seconds.
Yeah, and we can see you in it.
Yeah, you're in there.
Loading draft. See, typically I do this on my phone. So the site is, I'm having some issues here. On the
Yeah,
site.
you might want to pull it up on your phone.
Oh, pull it up on your phone. It's garbage on the website.
Their website, last time we did this, they kept getting some lag. So you got 5 seconds before the draft.
You're not gonna be able to see me. But I can stay on Hangouts, right?
No, you can, yeah. You can go into a different app. Oh, it just shows your picture. Never mind.
Well, that's good. I have a face for radio anyways.
All right, so I'm coming up in the 7th spot here. So what I'm looking to do generally from the 7th spot is DeAndre Hopkins or Devontae Adams. Those have been the guys that I'm taking there 9 times out of 10 if they're available. So hopefully one of them will be there this time. If not, I really don't know what I'm going to do. I could go Travis Kelce, but that's something.
No, I mean, you can get, at the 7th spot, you can get a top 5 back, or, I mean, if you're not afraid of taking Zeke, you can get a top 5 back or one of the 2 receivers. So 7th spot is like the end of tier 1 for me. Like, top 5 running backs are 1A.
4.
Yeah, top 5 running backs are 1, like, any order doesn't really bother me. McCaffrey's 1 for me, and, like, I feel pretty confident in that. But if I get David Johnson at 5, I don't have a problem with it. I think he has the same upside, just maybe less of a floor. And then outside of those 5 guys, 2 receivers, both of them I love taking anytime I can get them. And that's also how you start one of the best 0 RB drafts you can get, getting yourselves Devontae Adams or DeAndre Hopkins.
Yep, and that's who I ended up getting was Devontae Adams.
I'm doing the same thing. I am concerned. I'm going to be honest with you about that Houston offensive line. Well, for Watson's sake, I mean, but I have a ton of DeAndre Hopkins, so I mix it up. It's either Adams or Nuke. And right here at 1.9, quite a bit of Julio Jones already, but I think it's a coin flip with Michael Thomas. So I'm gonna go with Thomas. I mean, I think his upside is as high as anybody's, and you guys know how I like to tackle it. So I'll go Thomas here. Michael Thomas and Julio Jones have the same buy. It's something that I try to be conscientious about, but I do have both of them on certain teams. Gurley, see, he's coming around.
Oh, wow.
Kyle.
Yeah, no, people like completely moved him back to the end of the first now. It's weird. All right, at my pick,
That is weird.
I am actually going to double up. I think Odell Beckham has the exact same upside as all the other receivers, and I'm going to take Julio Jones because it's Julio Jones.
I love this. That's how I start. For me, I think that's ideal. If there was a way for me to draft this year, if there was two that I could go bang bang like that, that's what I have the most of. Odell Beckham, Julio Jones. It's just, I think it's your perfect start, in my opinion. And you got to really be right around 11 or 12 to make it happen.
Yeah,
Let
there's.
me get Tyreek or Juju here, Justin, to pair with Michael
I don't
Thomas.
like Tyreek Hill. It's a personal thing, but I think you're right. I mean, and we talked about it. So the first mini, people were getting Tyreek Hill really, really late, which is a really, really big edge. And I had 0 because we thought he was going to be suspended.
No Tyreek Hill.
I'm going to pass on AB here.
Oh, well. This is. Does someone want to try and, like, comprehend? Because, like, honestly, I have no clue. Like, what. This is, like, one of the greatest pieces of performance art in the history of mankind.
It's going to be Mike Evans. I'm going to go Mike Evans. I have quite a bit.
I like that. I'm really high on this offense, and I think the Chris Godwin hype is like, in a sense, justified, but is certainly getting out of control to the point where he is being drafted near his upside, which is fine because it's still, like, there is some room for him to grow. But I think Mike Evans is being drafted around his floor. So I don't, I think this Mike Evans and then O.J. Howard is probably the more value-based way of drafting this team.
Well, Johnny, you're on deck at 226.
Yeah, so I'm going James Conner. I'm not like a super high James Conner guy, but if he falls to
you
the
got to take him there.
Round,
you have to take him there every time. I don't see him go. I mean, that's pretty. I feel like that's far for him to go to 2.6.
Yeah, he's usually off the board.
Yeah. Somebody asked me about what do you mean when you're like, what let the draft come to you? I think that's one of those, like, you know, sometimes there's players that you don't necessarily want or go out of your way to get, but if it's like Todd Gurley's in a certain spot, it's like you kind of feel like an obligation to draft a player based on his upside, or if he's safe. But your Godwin is back to Godwin real quick, Kyle. Bruce Arians said that Chris Godwin could have 100 receptions in this offense, and I think
pretty sure someone said that about Tavon Austin when he was with the Rams too.
Yeah.
No, I mean,
we're still hearing that. Chris Godwin was a little different player than Tavon Austin, but
a little bit.
It makes sense. I mean, I think I don't know that it's realistic. I certainly wouldn't put money on it, but when Adam Humphries, Deshaun Jackson, they're gone, right? That's 28% of the targets for the Bucs, which is quite a bit. So somebody's got to get him. I think another year for Godwin, more experience with Winston, and they're a team where, like, negative game scripts. That's the thing about the Bucs. Like, they're dying for a running game and having, like, balance, but they're gonna be down quite a bit. So it's an offense that's gonna throw the ball a ton, and we love that.
Yep. Can't, nothing to add to that. That's just their defense is bad. They play great offenses in their division. Like, they're going to play the Falcons twice. They're going to play, really all of the offenses in their division I'm high on. Falcons twice. I love the Falcons offense. I think the Saints offense is the Saints offense. We know how good that is. But I even think the Panthers offense is going to be underrated when you look at, like, their dynamic playmaking ability. They've got a top 2 or 3 receiving back, definitely in contention for number 1 receiving back in the league coming out of their backfield. Then they've got guys like DJ Moore and Curtis Samuel who can make plays at any part of the field, rushing or receiving, and Cam Newton, like the greatest dual threat quarterback right now.
Kyle, we were talking the other night, and Greg Olsen, people seem to forget how good he was for the period that he was. He's like, it's kind of like Jordan Reed. Like, Greg Olsen was a top 5 tight end. Like, let's not, he's not dead. And there's a clear rapport there. We know Cam Newton is not insanely accurate. So I think that Olsen kind of provides that athletic guy in the middle of the field for him. And they've built a rapport over the years in spite of Olsen's injury a season ago. But the Godwin hype's getting crazy. 3.2 we went. I don't like I'm getting a little concerned about Damian Williams. I think it is going to be a committee there. And I really don't like George Kittle around 2 either. I think that's he's going to come back down to earth. It was just,
All right, so where we had Antonio Brown go at 3.4 here. Where are you guys taking him? Because this is maybe the weirdest year in terms of star elite players that you can get late in the first, second, third round, where you've got Melvin Gordon, Zeke, Todd Gurley, Antonio Brown, all on the precipice of some sort of season, if not career-ending injury or not suspension, but like just retiring outright in the middle of his prime for Antonio Brown, or holdout for Melvin Gordon and Zeke. Like, how are you guys approaching these situations?
I think you have to take each situation independent, right? Like with Melvin Gordon, like we know worst case scenario, he plays the second half of this season, right? So best ball, if he falls far enough, I'm going to take Melvin Gordon. Now, whereas Antonio Brown is the guy that I was scooping mid to late second round early on this offseason.
It's Stephon Diggs here all day long. Sorry, guys.
Oh, you're good. And then the closest, now that we've seen what's happening now, like I want no part of Antonio Brown. Like I think it's just an absolute stay away.
It's getting worse.
Like
it's getting
the crazy stuff going on. Like
it's getting worse.
It makes no sense to me. And I see some people are like, oh, like I'm not concerned. Like it'll work itself out. I don't know if it will. Like he was on an interview back in April talking about how he doesn't need football and how something about how the NFL, tries to minimize his value and blah blah blah, and how he's got his hands in all these other things with different businesses and stuff like that, and how he doesn't need football. I don't know. It's not encouraging. And then you think about how he was such a diva in Pittsburgh at times. It's not a good look, and it's not something I'm willing to put my hard-earned money on, basically.
Not even round 3, huh? Because I think I got him round 3 in the Scott Fish Bowl, but like the news today is just like, Kyle, this is another thing we were talking about the other night, is like with Bob, we were like, Antonio Brown's going to have issues, and it was just the feet. Now it's the helmet thing, and it's like and now he's in Oakland, so there's like they threw the ball a lot less. I'm up round 4. It's going to be Cooks, Edelman, Woods. I'm loving Kenny Golladay. I love Kenny Golladay, I think. I'm concerned. I don't know about the Rams. Like, they're going to score a lot of points.
Don't know about the Rams.
No, in terms of target share. It's going to be Kenny.
I like Brandon Cooks a lot.
That's who I've been going with.
Yeah.
Give me some Cooks.
I think he's my favorite, like, for best ball. I think season long, maybe it's Cooper Kupp, even though Brandon Cooks is more consistent than people give him credit for. But best ball especially, I love Brandon Cooks here. I think Robert Woods is the one that I'm like the least high.
Yeah, exactly. I am too. And the thing about Brandon Cooks, guys, you're talking about a polished wide receiver. He's like 24. He's been on 3 teams, and he's had a 1,000-yard season every year he's been in the NFL. It's crazy that he's been with Brady, Breeze, and now Jared Goff. He doesn't come off as a dipshit, but he's really good. He's really underrated.
Yeah,
there's a lot of mouths to feed there. That's the only thing. It's like Cooper Kupp's back. Gerald Everett's going to get the football. They might have some type of committee in the backfield. They're going to score points, but is it conceivable that all these guys have 1,000 yards? I don't know. I mean, Kupp seems like a guy that could have 80, 90 receptions. Woods is a possession receiver, and Cook's that guy that burner, 70, 1,000, and 6 or 7 touchdowns, kind of the home run hitter.
I went with DJ Moore.
Yeah, explain that, because I love DJ Moore.
Yeah, I was going to say, I'm surprised Kyle didn't comment on that. I am comfortable reaching on DJ Moore. I've taken him in the middle of the 4th round in a lot of these, just because I am super high on him, and it's like, comparing him to the range that he's going up against, like, I really don't have a lot of faith in, as far as like the upside. I think DJ Moore should realistically have more high-scoring weeks than Kenny Golladay, than Tyler Lockett, than Cooper Kupp. And maybe that's a hot take, but that's how good
that is a hot take.
That's how good I think DJ Moore is, and that's how good I think his situation is. Like, going back to the Cooper Kupp thing, I know the Rams offense is a high-powered offense, and it supported, 3 top 25 wide receivers, whatever. But who's to say it's going to do that again, especially if Gurley's not playing every single snap? Their offense could take a step back. So there's still 2 other big name guys. For Carolina, which is arguably, almost as high powered of an offense, there's really only two main guys that are going to be catching, aside from Christian McCaffrey. I'm talking about just the wide receiver position. It's just Samuel and DJ Moore, who I'm super big on both of them. So I just think that, especially best ball, like when you're looking for those spike weeks, I think DJ Moore is going to have, quite a
couple home runs.
Mm-hmm.
But are you concerned about? See, I'm not. I think DJ Moore is like, the rebirth of Steve Smith in Carolina. A guy like they need. They've been kicking around the Kelvin Benjamins and the Funchesses of the world. So like Cam Newton needs a guy like this. But are you guys concerned about Cam Newton's like accuracy? Because let's put it. I mean, he is not the most accurate quarterback in the world. There's a reason why Christian McCaffrey is good, but he gets the ball 40 times a game. Are you concerned about Cam Newton's accuracy going further? Or, I mean, in terms of his injury, I mean, what do you? Bob was telling us, Kyle, that he's high on Curtis Samuel. I mean, is that the value?
I've honestly been fading Curtis Samuel, and it's not that I don't like Curtis Samuel. Actually, as a talent, I liked him coming out of college, and I think he has a lot of potential to be a dynamic playmaker on this team. But like DJ Moore has the profile of all profiles: 6 foot 210. He's not super tall, but he's stocky. Like his athletic measurables are just through the roof. He ran a 4.42, and then in college he put up a 97th percentile college dominator, 98th percentile breakout age, broke out before the age of 19, and overall SparkX score, he's a 92nd percentile in that. Like, he just checks all of the boxes so hard, and not only that, but he looked like, coming out of college, a guy who could do things in every facet of the field. He had the athleticism to go deep and get over defenders, but he also has the playmaking ability where you could just, like, at Maryland, they were just like, sometimes they would just run their offense by throwing him a screen and being like, well, good luck, and then he'd take it to the house. So, like, there's not a field, like, if his shoulder isn't right and he can't throw deep, get it to him short. If he's struggling with short to intermediate accuracy like he did early in his career, DJ Moore can go long bombs. Like, there's not an area of the field where he can't win.
I took Sony Michel with my 5th pick. It was time for a running back, loaded at wide receivers. Per usual. I feel like the Patriots' backfield is obvious. It's cloudy all the time, but I think going forward, Sony Michel is the guy that's going to get the football the most in that backfield. They're going to move the ball. Tom Brady's, I think he's on the, I don't want to say he's on the decline, but it's an offense that's going to run the football, and I certainly like that. I have zero confidence in Rex Burkhead.
All right. Any suggestions with this second pick? I'm kind of I missed out on the last tier of guys I wanted.
I like Allen Robinson.
Yeah, I like Allen Robinson a lot too. I like Will Fuller.
Robinson, it is.
He's healthy. He's not as hurt as we thought he was going to be.
I was hoping Fuller would make his way back to me. We'll see if Justin steals him from me. But there's I don't know. We could talk some strategy there, as far as like Kyle has the 12 picks, so he has 2 picks in a row. So some people don't like that. I actually kind of like that.
I love it.
Like the 1 or the 12. I think, it's interesting because you can reach, you really have to reach the guys that you want because they're not going to make it back to you.
Yeah.
But there's also like other things you can do with it too. Like there's been situations where like Deshaun Watson falls to like the back end of the 6th or like something like that where him and Fuller are both available in that range. I'll just take them both, and then there's a super high upside stack.
We'll take Will Fuller there.
Yeah.
Yeah. When I pick at the turns or close to him, those are the drafts where in the draft I think it's so disappointing that, like, for this one, you can get Christian Kirk like deep into the 6th round. I took him at the end of the 5th, and I'm like, kind of sucks that I have to take him there, but I end up just like, if you are confident in your takes, you end up taking all of your players because, like you were saying, you just have to reach on them. So when I look back at these drafts, I'm like, hey, all the players I want are on these teams. So, like, at the end of the day, if it's forcing you to make what you think are optimal decisions, I like some of my favorite drafts always come from basically 10, 11, 12, or 1, 2, 3.
Look how you started. I mean, for me, that's like picture perfect. Odell Beckham, Julio Jones. Like, what more do you want with your? Obviously, there's 18 rounds here, but like, that's precisely how I want to start a draft. I mean, there's my
I'm looking at Kyle's reaction. So I just took Curtis
Yep.
6.6.
Wow, you homer. Well,
No,
that's where
it's not even that. It's just like, especially best ball. Like, I'm not afraid to. Samuel, yeah, he usually goes in the 7th round, but for guys that I think could legitimately be like, maybe not league winners, but guys that could realistically have like 4 or 5 weeks where they're going to have monster weeks. And on top of that, I already have DJ Moore, so obviously my strategy is going to try to take Cam Newton.
Yeah, Justin, I'll pay your $5 entry fee when you take Cam.
Kyler Murray just
why
won
is because then I'm literally like capturing so much upside. Like that's just a strategy that I've been doing a lot with the Panthers, with the Bucks. If I can get Mike Evans and Godwin and maybe even O.J. Howard. I sent you guys the one that had Kyler Murray, David Johnson, Christian Kirk. Anytime you can capture like that much upside, I just feel like ADP doesn't matter at that point. So that's why I don't care if I reach a round or two later.
Do you guys think that Murray going in round 6 is?
No, honestly, I'd take him in round 1 if I. No, that's too early. I mean, that's like, especially like with Andrew Luck, who I think like in my projections is a tier 1. Like I have him in the same tier as Mahomes and as Deshaun Watson. Like those 3 guys, I don't have. I'm fine with either of them, so I never get Patrick Mahomes because I have gotten like 1 to 2 shares of Luck and Watson when they fall to like where they're falling right now. So those are 2 guys that I actually get a decent amount of. Taking Murray before them, who is, I think, my next ranked quarterback. But there is a dude. Don't you dare laugh at me. I will come over there. Yeah, remember when you were like, "Oh, Patrick Mahomes, he's not very good. They don't know what they're doing."
I never said that. I did make a bet with Brad Evans the other day.
I saw that.
About Murray top. So he's got him at top 12. I said he would. I might have squeezed a couple out of him. Might have been 15, but he went back to top 12. We made a bet. I said he would finish outside the top 12. So I got that going for me. You look at these tight ends. Still some tight ends. Don't have a tight end. You only have 1 running back. What do you guys think now that Duke Johnson's in Houston? Kyle, we were talking about Lamar Miller the other night.
Wow.
Oh!
Really?
Hey, I mean, but like when that happens, like I love Kyler Murray. I'm very annoyed when somebody gets him, but like, but when somebody takes him that early, it is a suboptimal pick, and you're like, all right, fine, you'll send your team to the gutter at the expense of my stack.
Had Kyler Murray.
Exactly. Like he is sending his team. I'll pull his team up on the stream.
Wow.
He is sending his team to the gutter by taking 2 quarterbacks in round 6 and 7. I mean, it's like he's totally still capable of winning the league. But those were, I think we would all agree, taking 2 quarterbacks that early with better quarterbacks on the board are like beyond suboptimal picks. So when you get a guy, like you get sniped, but it's so early that you just have to say like, okay, fine. You send your team to the gutter at the expense of my guy. I can live with that because like this guy's odds of winning this league are probably significantly hampered by spending 2 picks this early on quarterbacks that aren't even like Andrew Luck. So like it sucks that you don't get your guy, but like go ahead and put your team off and take down Kyler Murray in my case, who I love. Take him with you if you must, but you're punting your team off, so I can live with that.
I think I have to take Lamar Miller here, round 7. It just feels right. I want a piece of that Houston Texans offense. I don't have. Well, I do have a little piece because I took Will Fuller, but Kyle, didn't we talk about Lamar Miller the other night, like what he is and the comfortability we feel when we have him? I think when you draft as many wide receivers as I have, you're going to end up with the Lamar Millers, and while there's not a lot of flash and bang to it, there's stability to it. 200 carries, 200 plus carries, 20, 30 receptions, close to 1,000 yards on a team that's going to score a lot of points, right?
Yeah, I mean, in reference to the Duke Johnson thing, like, sure, does that lower his his potential ceiling for like a bell cow status? But he's never been like this dynamic receiving threat, right. And they've always had these like rotational pieces behind him that could take away receptions. So I don't really have like a I think it's going to lower his ADP more than it's actually going to lower like his projection. It is going to be a net benefit for him in the long run, like in terms of us drafting him. Maybe it knocks his projection a little bit, but it's going to knock his ADP a lot more. So I actually think this is like a good thing for us drafting him in the future.
Kyle just took Baker, so now he's got the Baker OBJ stack. I like that a lot.
A little bit of a run here, a little bit of a QB run. But even when there are QB runs, the position's so deep, it's like, it's all right.
Yeah, that actually, when a run goes on like that, I wait even longer every single time because the odds of someone taking another one again is low, even though that idiot just did it.
Yeah.
So he took him.
Do I want Drew Brees here? Is it too? I feel like it's too. I mean.
So, like I just said, when a QB run, it's a lot smarter to wait on quarterback.
Yeah, it's what honestly, it's what. Justin, I'm surprised you're looking at a quarterback because it's what we're doing with receivers early. When the running backs are on this horrible run, fade them even harder because, early in the draft you get so many running backs. There's going to be so much receiver value, and then when all of the running back guys come back to get their receiver, that's when you flip the switch. So as all of these guys, and myself included, and if I didn't have Odell Beckham, I don't think I would have even thought about taking Baker, but I do think he has potential to hit that sort of ceiling we saw with, I don't want to say Patrick Mahomes ceiling, but more like an Andrew Luck type of ceiling from last year, and I think stacking is really the way you have to be playing these leagues. But, you're going to get, say, a Jared Goff. After we all jump in on the run and get our starting quarterback, you're going to get Jared Goff or Lamar Jackson, John, at, a way later value because most people are all right, starting quarterback set, I can wait. And while we're taking our starting quarterback, you're mining up this value with actually one of my favorite picks. If it wasn't Darrell Henderson, it was Latavius Murray. So you want to talk about that?
Yeah, basically, he's a guy that I don't trust a ton in season long. I think he has a solid floor because he'll get you maybe 8 to 12 points on a weekly basis. But for best ball, I think he's actually one of the sneakiest values there is because being in the Saints backfield, he's gonna have multiple games where he scores 2 touchdowns. And maybe you get lucky and he scores 3 one game. Or maybe Alvin Kamara goes down and then you have a full workhorse in Latavius Murray. And I know he's got the reputation as a plotter, but I don't know if you boys watched the preseason game tonight. And we know that preseason means everything, especially week 1. But he caught 3 balls tonight. It's actually impressive.
He's a fade for me. I know there is a lore there in New Orleans, but it's we did one good year, and he's a guy that I feel is a gamble. And I feel you mentioned the word plotter. People that don't know, like a big bruiser, fall down at the line of scrimmage type of guy. There are quite a bit of those guys that I'm seeing. Even some of these third down backs, I'm grabbing Devin Singletaries of the world. I want Kyle. You talked about Matt Breida the other night. I'm been pouncing on Naheem Hines. I have a ton of Naheem Hines, and even Justin Jackson is there, and Jordan Howard has been there. So I have more confidence in those players than a 30-year-old, almost 30-year-old Latavius Murray. But I get it. I get what you're saying. He'll definitely punch a couple in.
Yeah, he's had at least 6 rushing touchdowns in 4 straight seasons.
Yep.
And now he's going to a better offense in what should be a better offense in the Saints. So it's basically just a bet on situation, not so much a bet on talent. And where you're getting him is the reason why I like it so much in basketball.
What are you guys doing with Geis? What are you guys doing with Geis?
I think he is one of the few players I have no shares of. I have some shares of early quarterbacks. Even I have a decent, not a decent. I'm probably average on Baker. Even though I'm not huge on taking quarterbacks early, I have 1 or 2 shares of Aaron Rodgers, who falls to my quarterback probably 5 or 6 range. Either a few guys I like more than him. These are guys that fall. Darius Geis cannot fall far enough for me to ever consider taking him because I don't think he's going to dominate the work in that backfield because of how they're going to use not only Chris Thompson, who's dynamic receiving threat. We saw how efficient he can be on his touches. And then I don't think Adrian Peterson re-signed just to do nothing, just to be a backup. So I think he's going to be on the wrong side of this touch squeeze on like an atrocious offense. Like, don't want to read into the preseason too much, but Dwayne Haskins doesn't look good. I don't want Case Keenum to be the quarterback on my offense. I don't see really just like I'm not seeing upside, and that's the problem. Like I could see like a weekly touch floor. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Feels like the Dolphins offense.
I think the Redskins offense is going to be actually like considerably worse than the Dolphins.
Drew Brees, Michael Thomas stack.
Like I think they're going to be maybe the worst team in the NFL this year. So I think Kyle's right on point there. I have a little bit of more interest, not much, but a little bit more than you guys in him, just because he is going super late. But like you said, the offense, I mean, he's going to be playing from behind. If Thompson stays healthy, he's the pass catching back. So it's like, it just totally caps his upside.
Jordan Reed's all I got in that offense, and I have a lot of them.
Yeah. I agree with that, because I think this might be the healthiest we've seen Jordan Reed in like 4 years. And when we saw him last year, he actually was playing really well. He was a top, I believe, 12 tight end up until he got injured at the end of the game. But at the price you're paying to get him, it does say something. And that's just like, that's still on this putrid offense. I do think there is some upside if he just gets an incredible amount of the target volume, because this team is going to have, like, I don't have any faith in any of their receivers. So for me, like, he is one of the only players he's probably the only player at all I want on this offense, because I think he could really command a large amount of the targets. And he's efficient when he gets targeted, despite playing on some bad offenses. I mean, like he was last year. So he's like, him, and it feels gross. Jimmy Graham, I'm somewhat interested. You look at the target share he got on the team last year, his touchdowns compared to like what you would expect from a guy who got as many targets as he did on an Aaron Rodgers-led offense were abysmal. Either he is truly the most washed tight end in the league right now, still hobbling himself out there, or he caught, I mean, it's probably some of both, or he caught some of the wrong side of touchdown variants, which is hard to capture, even if you're on Aaron Rodgers' offense. So, like, he's a guy who I think I feel gross when I take him, but at the price, when you look at guys around him, like TJ Hawkinson, I don't think is going to make much of an impact his first year. Chris Herndon, I actually like as a player,
I do too.
But you're missing the first 4 weeks from him, and then he's still on an offense that will be coached by Adam Gase. That's disgusting. Tyler Eifert, I actually am like completely fading. Like, he's the last of guys I want to be my second tight end.
Don't see that in front of Bob Harris.
I know.
We've been hearing about him for years. You know, when you brought up Adrian Peterson, I immediately thought of you, Savvy John Kelly, when we talked to Adam Schefter a couple years ago, and the Saints had Adrian Peterson in that backfield with Mark Ingram, and then we were talking about Alvin Kamara, and he was telling us how much he liked Alvin Kamara, and then Adrian Peterson did nothing that year, if my memory serves me correctly. So, you know, even if Adrian Peterson sails off into the sunset, like, I think you're right about Chris Thompson. Some of his numbers, if you look when he's healthy, he's spectacular. But it's going to be an offense that sputters. So, I feel like I'm obligated to brag about you and I talking to Adam Schefter one day. Any opportunity I get. So what do you guys think of Mark Andrews? Like, I'm typically, I wait, and I'm with you, Kyle. Like, I'm like Jordan Reed, Jimmy Graham. I got some Trey Burton early. Lately, I'm coming around to like Delaney Walker. I'll sprinkle in some Greg Olsen a little bit. Herndon, I've had some. But like, what are you guys thinking of Mark Andrews? Because when I think about him, I'm thinking about a run-heavy Baltimore team that, you know, with Lamar Jackson's going to take him some time, right? And I think that you look at a guy like Andrews, who Baker Mayfield made look pretty good. Do you think that Jackson will lean on Andrews this season? And do you think that my tweet was right the other day and say that Mark Andrews is going to be a top 12 tight end, even though that doesn't say much?
I have a little bit of a take here. I think I think people got excited about Mark Andrews, but the hype got out of control very, very, very fast. Like, now he's going ahead of guys like, and I don't even know if you guys agree with this. If you don't, I'd be down to make a little wager, or anybody listening. But basically, I would bet that Jordan Reed, Jimmy Graham, Greg Olson, pretty much all these guys that are being drafted after him in season long and best ball outproduce him in fantasy.
Wow.
Just because like the volume I don't see being there. Super run heavy team. I think he had like 2 games with 5 or more targets or something like that. Like out of nowhere, people just think like with 3 or 4 targets a game, he's going to be like some fantasy stud. Like I don't know, man. I think it's kind of egregious. I'll take like literally any of those guys: Olsen, Graham, Delaney Walker, Jordan Reed, Trey Burton, maybe even Kyle Rudolph. I don't love him, but I think Chris Herndon outscores him. Maybe even Darren Waller.
Even Herndon missing 4 games.
Yeah.
I will take that bet. That's like
Yeah,
that is because I was actually running through the list and I'm like, I don't have much confidence in saying like Trey Burton didn't really peak at any points last year, but he was just like consistently all right. So I was like, yeah, Trey Burton on the season will probably outscore him. Like Jimmy Graham the same way. Jordan Reed I like, so I definitely I wouldn't bet that. So I didn't have any confidence in disagreeing with what you were saying. Like I think maybe Mark Andrews could do it, but the
Herndon.
Yeah, the Herndon one is really what got me. I'll put $20 on Mark Andrews outscoring him.
Look it. You heard it here first.
But yeah, in general though, like that's the one I would take over. It was in lockstep almost everywhere else with you, so I don't want this to come off like I'm standing hard for Mark Andrews. I really completely agreed with you. Where going into this offseason, I was like, guys, I found it. I found the tight end sleeper. I'm going to crush tight ends this year. And everybody found Mark Andrews. Like, that was I thought I had an edge there, and everyone just found the tight end edge, and it completely was depleted. His ADP skyrocketed. I thought he was going to be a guy who went, like...
Cousins here.
I thought he was going to be a guy who went at the end of the tier of the guys you were mentioning, John, and that didn't really happen. So I agree with every single one of those to an extent, or at least I don't disagree enough to put any money on it until we got to Chris Herndon, and I'll put 20 on that. But I mean, you're right in every other aspect with Chris Herndon.
Yeah, and going back to what you said, like when you were early in the offseason, I think that was a sharp pick because he was going after all those guys.
Yeah.
Maybe not Greg Olson, but he was going like what, 14th or 15th?
Yeah.
And now he's been up. I've seen him drafted in the 9th round. Like, are you kidding me?
Which is ironic given a 4-game suspension.
But yeah, Chris Herndon, I think it'll be close because obviously he's missing the 4 games, but I think he's at least going to have some pretty big weeks that kind of even the playing field. We'll see. Kyle's on the clock here. Going back to the draft update. So he's got the Baker OBJ stack. He's got Jacobs, Fournette, Henderson, and Harris at running back. Julio.
God, all these tight ends suck.
Allen Robinson, James Washington, and Christian Kirk. So he still needs a tight end.
Yeah, I'm waiting on that one. I'm just a lot of drafts. I just end up going 3 tight ends late. This one, it could very well be Jimmy Graham. I'm actually like the health with Trey Burton has become a bit of a concern heading up to week 1. So I'm kind of maybe that's a guy I should have bet to get the sneaky Mark Andrews. But no, I mean, but like we've already got suspension factor with Herndon, so like. But maybe I'll be looking at Jimmy Graham. I think Jack Doyle can be a sneaky pick. His ADP seems to be creeping up a little bit, but it's still not, I don't think, quite correct. It just seems like, it doesn't seem like, it is a fact that whenever he was on the field with Eric Ebron, he was the guy. He was outshining Ebron every chance they got to play together, and then just he got hurt and Ebron became the touchdown god. But I really think, I don't think Jack Doyle to outscore Eric Ebron this season is a bad bet, to make, given the value difference, the wild discrepancy in ADP you're spending.
I love my team. Real quick, I love my team, but I only have 3 running backs, and they all have week 10 buys, which is something that I try to stay away. Well, obviously, stay away from. But so now it's time for some running backs that do not have a week 10 buy.
See, if I didn't get sniped on Cam, I would take Greg Olson here. But
I think Olson's going to be fine too. Now, would you say Olson finishes in front of Mark Andrews?
Yeah, he was one of the ones I named.
Wow. See, Mark Andrews is like your prototypical sexy name, off-season name, right? Well, you go, wow, you watch some of them. There's not a lot of bona fide pass catchers in Baltimore. You look at him being Lamar Jackson's safety blanket, so I get it. But then, like I said the other night on our show, Kyle, it is when the things come into fruition, week 1 and week 2, and then by mid-season, it is the Jimmy Grahams of the world and the Delaney Walkers that are not nearly as sexy anymore by any stretch, but they probably will. I bet you a lot of those guys you listed will outproduce Mark Andrews, but we do gravitate towards sexy in the offseason. Some of us.
And I was just looking at this drink runners team who took Cam and Kyler Murray, and he has like 12 running backs and only 3 wide receivers, and they're not good wide receivers.
I got a double stack. I got the Cousins Diggs stack, and I got the Breeze Michael Thomas stack, and it's pretty.
Yeah, I like that a lot.
And you guys talked me into Cooks. I don't have a ton of Cooks. I don't have I've sprinkled it around. Like I said, when I look at the Rams offense, we know they're going to drop points. It's just going to be interesting to see usage and target share with a healthy cast. And Kyle, I talk about Gerald Everett all the time. I think Gerald Everett's going to have his moments too. He's a guy that I have a ton of in best balls. I think he's that freak tight end that's going to have games where it's 4 receptions, 60 yards, two touchdowns. Make a pretty good DFS stack with Goff and one of the wide receivers. I do like Gerald Everett quite a bit.
All right, so
that Rams offense.
John, you are coming up here. What are you looking to do? I think I know some guys who might be on your list. I'm looking at running back right now.
Yeah, you definitely know at least one. I'm going to see if he'll make it back to me. I'm actually thinking about what I'm leaning towards here is going Josh Allen and getting my second quarterback. Just for the upside, I have Big Ben as kind of the floor guy with some upside, especially since I have James Conner and Jalen Samuel. But if I get Josh Allen here and then maybe get Zay Jones or somebody late, then I
have a lot of Zay Jones. I have quite a bit of Zay Jones. I think he's running with the ones now. He should run with the ones. I think Zay Jones is one of these guys that's getting overlooked for sure.
Yeah, he goes incredibly late given the sort of mini breakout season he had, which is like, he's a guy who I would have thought would be the, I don't know if I would have pegged Mark Andrews to be the guy that just shoots up boards where I thought I had a smart pick. Zay Jones is actually that kind of type of player where you think, I'm kind of lower on the Bills passing game than maybe the public is because Josh Allen's terrible. He's a horrible bad passer. And, but given that I'm lower on them, I didn't think Zay Jones was a great prospect, and he had a little mini breakout last season. I would have thought he'd be skyrocketing upwards. He'd be everyone's trendy sleeper pick. And for whatever reason, that just hasn't happened. You can get him super late. So I don't have a problem with Zay Jones just based on value. And now given that Robert Foster is just plunged into the depths of training camp hell, it could be the Zay Jones show, which is weird. But
I think it will be, for whatever that's worth, which means 60 receptions. But that's fine, right? Because you're getting them for free. They'll be down a lot.
I think it's going to be the John Brown show, and he's like my primary target if I'm getting those guys late. But his ADP's been creeping up.
Yeah,
that's why I kind of have to.
I get it.
Zay Jones later.
I get it. Zay Jones feels a little safer, I feel, but John Brown's that guy that can blow the top off of secondaries for sure.
And like Kyle said, Josh Allen is not a good passer, but he's also not afraid to take deep shots down the field. So I like that a lot for best ball.
Give me some Justice Hill.
Ooh! That would have been the running back I was alluding to.
Yeah, that was my pick this round. I'm like, yeah, I think he'll make it back to me.
I went on a show last night, yesterday. I was telling you guys, with 2 gentlemen from Los Angeles, and we were talking about a little bit of everything, mostly fantasy football. And the one guy that they were touting was Mark Ingram, and I could not. I'm not coming around to him. I don't know why. So I think that where I don't have any Mark Ingram for the most part, I think it is Hill. A lot smaller, but I think Hill's going to have a role pretty early in the season. So in guys like Hill, when you draft as many wide receivers as I tend to take, I mean, you're going to end up with the Hills of the world. You're going to end up with the Dion Lewises, and there are some interesting running backs that I do like. The Madisons of the world, the Chase Edmonds, the Thompsons. There are running backs there. Darwin Thompson's another guy. I think it would behoove a lot of people to own.
Yeah, did you guys see the run by Hill the other night in preseason?
Is he going to be this season's Amir Abdullah, the guy who's like, oh, maybe he'll get some reps, reps in week 1 or 2. We'll see, a little sleeper action, and then he makes a few good runs in preseason. And he goes to round 4.
Yep, probably. No, it wasn't like that good. Like, it wasn't the 50-yard touchdown run that Abdullah had that sent him skyrocketing, but it was pretty sick. There was a clip on Twitter that said, like, this looks like it was sped up, but it's actually not. It's real time, and it did look like that. That's how quick and smooth Justice Hill is. So, he's one of my guys.
On a team that lacks weaponry and that's run heavy, so why wouldn't you want him?
Yeah.
So do you guys have any interest in Donta Foreman here? Because I still think it's like a joke that he gets drafted at all.
Yeah, I'm with you. I want no part of it. I think it's disgusting.
Like, backfield is solidified.
Right? It feels like there is just no chance. Like, he's going to be the third running back for the between the tackles spot. He has no chance of catching passes because it's something he never did in college, and he didn't do much of anything in the NFL. It's like he's not even close to a lock to make the roster. No. So it's people are in this sunk cost fallacy or trying to mine value. There's some sort of mental gymnastics going on that people are convincing themselves that he's a good pick. Now people are like, oh, he's better value, he's on a better offense. One, is he? Two, he might not be on that offense come week 1. It's a wasted pick. When you say, oh, he got cut, it's a wasted pick. No, it's still a wasted pick picking him now. I think it's just a good way to punt off your 14th round pick.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like you said, I wouldn't be surprised if he gets cut. Just all the reports that came from Houston, and they needed him too. Prior to bringing over Duke Johnson, they needed him. Yep. And that's how bad he was. And it wasn't just on the field, it was off the field stuff too, coming late in the meeting. Just nothing but negative reports. And he's coming off an Achilles injury.
Which is bad.
I don't think we've ever seen a running back come back from an Achilles injury and pretty much produce at any level, at any meaningful level for an NFL team. So I'm 100% with you. I think it's a complete waste.
They threw the towel in, but they were patient. I mean, there was some patience there, and because, like you said, I think there was a need for him because outside of him, you've been leaning on Lamar Miller and Alfred Blue. So, and I think Foreman, when Foreman was drafted, he was going to have a role immediately. That was the design for him, and it just. Indianapolis is not the right spot. They're not going to play with that backfield. Why would you screw with that backfield at this point in time? That offense is going to go. My boy Marlon Mack's going to rip it up.
All right, so I got to get some running back.
Who are you looking at?
Your boy AP's here. No, I'm not going there.
No.
Ito Smith, Chase Edmonds. A couple options here: Gio Bernard, Chris Thompson.
I have a ton of Jalen Richard, a ton of them, an absolute ton of them. This is a guy that came close to 70 receptions last year. A lot of, especially with this AB news, for some reason, if he doesn't play, this Oakland team all of a sudden becomes on offense potentially worse than they were last year.
Yeah, for sure.
Well,
I ended up taking Gio.
It's Edmund. Yeah, that's a smart play. Not a sexy name anymore. Do I go Chase Edmonds? He's going to have a role week 1. Why not Edmonds? Give me some Chase Edmonds. Why not?
So I am coming up to being on the clock. We have a quarterback where I think I'm going to go just so I get my second starter. I mean, I really, with the confidence I have in Baker, I plan on my second starter playing like all of 2 to 3 games, like a Baker bye and like 2 to 3 bad matchups or just bad beats. So what are we thinking here? Nick Foles, not Andy Dalton. I thought he had some upside when AJ Green was healthy. I have no confidence. So it's really Marcus Mariota or Nick Foles.
I think I'll have a Coke.
I actually think there's a little bit of a case to be made for both, right? Like coming into last year, so many people were high on Marcus Mariota. I really wasn't, and now it's kind of flipped. Like everyone hates him now, and I've been scooping him as like a second or third QB.
The DFS mind.
Like
that's the DFS mind.
Rounds. I mean, it just makes sense. Like nothing changed. I know he battled with injuries. He's still not a great like passer, but he still has the legs for the upside.
Good offensive line. Good offensive line. Corey Davis, gentlemen, is no joke at all. He is no joke.
Corey Davis is a joke.
Yeah, my dynasty teams will say he's a joke.
I'm done with Corey Davis, man.
Well,
every year I hear Corey Davis, top 15, I'm done.
Polished wide receiver. This was a guy that was highly regarded coming out of college. But
I know. My dynasty teams will tell you how highly regarded he is, and now.
So who's going to be the number one task?
Give me Adam Humphries over Corey Davis fantasy points, and I'll book that bet right now. I swear to you, I will. That's how much faith I have in Corey Davis.
Yeah, well,
I might get some action on that.
I mean, you probably have the better side, but maybe I'm just an anti-Corey Davis guy. But I think he has more injury risk, and I don't know. I could see Humphries kind of being a little sleeper. I don't know. Corey Davis he's had all the opportunities and just hasn't.
Well, it's Marcus Mariota has not been Tom Brady, but so you're more optimistic on Mariota to perform well. I think Davis. There's going to be weeks where Corey Davis has 10 receptions, 140 yards, and a touchdown.
What week is that?
No, he's
week 3 preseason.
He has had some big weeks. I mean, they're not often. It's a team that they're going to run the football. It is a good offensive line, and they're going to be trailing quite a bit. But it'll end up being Delaney Walker with.
Oh no! That was my last running back. He's my number 1 owned running back in every single spot. I think I love David Montgomery. Make a few more great preseason plays. He could be our preseason Amir Abdullah because just when you look at we talked about him the last time we did this, so I won't hit it too much. But just when you look at the historical production of day 2 running backs, it's not great. It's less than 150 carries, less than 25 receptions. It's we lost John. It's really not worth drafting where you're betting on outliers every time you take a guy who's taken in round 2, round 3. And so I still think this offense is going to be relatively run-heavy. That's not going to happen through Tariq Cohen. I think that will happen less so than we expect with David Montgomery. It has to go to somebody, and Mike Davis was he a good running back last season in Seattle, he was also a good receiver. So if he's on the field in a situation where he needs to catch a pass, I actually think that's something he can do well. He has a true 3-down skill set, and I think he'll have more of an opportunity than people expect. Definitely more than his 16.6 ADP, or I guess where you got him, not necessarily ADP.
You're like a mosquito in my ear because I'm finding myself drafting Mike Davis because of you, and then the other night I grabbed a share or two of David Moore in Seattle.
You got I love me some David Moore. I also I wasn't as high on him. If I didn't get David Moore, I was taking Antonio Callaway. So punted off a lot of 18th rounders, but I also got you to draft Kyler Murray in the 9th round yesterday, I think.
That felt right. I can justify that. Round 9, not round 6 like we saw today.
Yeah, that was a bit weird.
You can't justify that.
But I mean, we say that, and I wouldn't do it either. But then people would have laughed at Mahomes going in the 6th round last year, and then
I would have.
If Tyler balls out and he's the QB1, then we look like idiots. So you never know. But then how he drafted Cam immediately after the 7th, that's just total dumb.
They're sexy names. Kyler Murray has become a sexy name. Cam Newton was free a few weeks ago. I mean, you could get Cam Newton. I hope he's healthy. I really do. As a fan of the game. What's that? Yeah.
yeah, all the reports are he's throwing well in camp and practice. So we'll see.
I do agree with the Adam Humphries call. I do like the Adam Humphries. This is a guy that caught 70 passes in Tampa Bay.
Yeah, he'll outperform his ADP, and it'll be gross. I don't think he's a guy who I'm not really interested in taking in the late rounds because I don't think there will be like almost any explosive weeks.
Right.
But he'll outperform his ADP in a very boring way. Like that's not inaccurate to say. I don't think.
Agreed. I think he'll have a lot of weeks where he catches like 8 balls for like 45 yards.
Now, Marquise Goodwin, real quick, guys. It was just like question mark. I saw on Roto World the other day whether he was going to make the team or not. The sample with Jimmy Garoppolo, which was when Jimmy Garoppolo went to San Francisco, it wasn't that like he leaned on Goodwin. It was a rapport right off the bat. I want to say it was, the numbers were crazy. I'd have to look at them. With Jimmy G and Marquise Goodwin. All right, what do we got here? So I've been hammering running backs. I think it's time for a wide receiver.
I know who I would take. Actually, there's 2.
Quincy Enunwa.
He was one of them. Actually, there's 3. He was one of them.
They paid the man.
The other one I was going to say Trey Quinn, just because he might be watched. I mean, somebody's got to catch the ball and watch.
Yeah, well, that's it. He's the new Jamison Crowder.
Yeah, and there he goes right there. And then the last one being, I'll say after Kyle picks.
I'm not taking.
Actually, he won't take him because he took Andy Isabella. So the last one I like is Steve Johnson.
Yeah, I don't hate that. Kind of wanted to get another tight end, but kind of honestly, all these tight ends are complete and utter garbage. Yeah, I'm still going to gamble on Matt Lacoste being healthy because if I can get a starting tight end in the last round, I mean, with my tight end situation, you have to take that shot despite the fact that if he's not healthy, it's kind of a lost pick. But I do think a starting tight end for any offense, let alone the Patriots offense in the 18th round, is pretty wild. It's like Matt Lacoste, Darren Waller's been rocking up boards, but you used to be able to get him pretty much at the end of your draft. Now you got to get him like 15, 16, 17, just if you want to ensure that you get him. Ricky Seals-Jones, another guy who could be the starting tight end on a good offense. What that converts to in fantasy points, who knows? But, exciting. Oh, I wonder who this could be.
Yeah, it's killing yourself.
Oh, gross. Don't do this to me. Please, enough of this Jacoby Myers nonsense.
Somebody's got to catch the football in New England.
I'll take your boy Jalen.
They used a first-round pick on someone. That's who I bet on it being.
Yeah, I think I got N'Keal Harry in this draft.
Yeah, I love let Jacoby Myers pop off every single week because he's gonna be it's just gonna depress N'Keal Harry's ADP so much. And N'Keal Harry had a great profile coming out of college. And do I think he's going to be a consistent producer as soon as he hits the NFL? Probably not. But do I think being on a Tom Brady-led offense, could he have a lot of spike weeks? Absolutely. And why would you bet on Jacoby Myers in this offense?
Because he was free. But
to be fair,
I told you the other night, if you can't comprehend that extensive playbook, and sometimes they make modifications and downplay it a little bit or dumb it down a little bit, they have no use for you. So sometimes it is the Jacoby Myers of the world that find a little niche, and if you gain Tom Brady's trust, then you're good. And let's face it, guys, they need some weaponry in the passing game. Gronk is gone, Chris Hogan's gone. You're looking at guys like Philip Dorsett at this point in time, 33-year-old Julian Edelman who's always hurt. Which is another reason why I drafted Sony Michel, and I'm getting some of the Patriots backfield because they're going to run the football.
All right, we have completed our portions of the draft, and there are just 3 picks left. So, John, you want to bring us home with some of the tips you saw in this draft, and especially how people can not only apply them to best ball, but also to redraft, because despite it's a different format, it's a lot of overlap, more so than I would say with DFS or anything.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, for sure. I think the main difference is in season long, obviously we're not we're not like stacking a full offense. We're not doing, stuff like that. We're focusing more on, because season long you view it more of like a head to head. So you're trying for the higher floor. You still want the upside, but whereas best ball, we're trying to come not only first out of 12, but first out of the entire championship. So that's why we're really hammering upside. But a couple things I noticed. I actually like not just saying this because we're all three on this pod together, because you guys know I'm not afraid to rip you guys if I don't like this draft. But I actually think all three of us had a strong draft. I actually think I might have had the worst draft out of us three, which is kind of surprising to me because I don't know. I feel like I usually do pretty well in these, but I actually really like Justin's team. He did a strategy I like. So not just stacking once, but stacking twice. So like he mentioned briefly, he has Drew Brees, Michael Thomas stack. That's an excellent stack, obviously. But then with his backup Kirk Cousins that he got at the end of the 11, he stacked him with Stephon Diggs, who he drafted earlier, and Kyle Rudolph. So he's got a lot of good stuff going on there. And then I was kind of nervous about his running backs, but then he actually he pretty much nailed it in the later rounds. Where we're looking to get upside: Justice Hill, Chase Edmonds, Royce Freeman, Darwin Thompson. Those are all guys that could produce down the stretch. So I actually really like his team. And then Kyle pretty much did something similar. Baker Mayfield, OBJ stack, one of the best stacks in the game. I really think Leonard Fournette is kind of being disrespected this year. So Kyle got him at the end of the third round. I think that's an excellent pick just because, like, we already know he's going to get 20 carries a game. Yep. But now there's no TJ Yeldon in town. So, like, people are really, like, completely ignoring the fact that he's going to be one of the few 3-down plus goal line backs in the NFL. Like, I wouldn't be surprised to see him catch three passes a game minimum. So I really like that pick. And then, other guys, Damian Harris, I'm big on, Carlos Hyde, Henderson for the Rams, like just other depth guys that could have upside down the stretch. And then, like you were saying with the tight ends, that's something that I do. If I miss on OJ Howard, who's one of my popular picks, Vance McDonald in like the 7th round, then I'm typically doing exactly what Kyle did, and that's taking 3 tight ends just super late and just hoping that between the 3 of them, I have enough weeks to I know I'm not going to win that position, but hopefully I have enough to at least keep me afloat while I dominate the other 3 positions, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I think you summed up this draft really well. Justin, if you don't have anything to add, I think it's about time to call it a night.
I don't. Well said, sadly, John Kelly. Just, real quick on my running backs, where I did take Royce Freeman and Chase Edmonds and Justice Hill and Darwin Thompson, guys like that. You're getting them late because I feel like I can, because you can't have everything in the early rounds. They are investments, and John said down the stretch, and I think that's very important to keep in mind. Points down the stretch. You look at a guy like Chase Edmonds. If something were to happen to David Johnson, we're optimistic, or you guys are optimistic about this Cardinals offense. Chase Edmonds suddenly becomes thrust into the David Johnson role, and what you got around 15 for a game or two. I'll take it. Darwin Thompson, kind of the same thing. I think I'm getting nervous about Damian Williams. So we want a piece of that Chiefs offense. Might not happen from the get-go, but these are late round guys that you want to take some shots on. I think that running back is the spot to take shots on.
I think that's pretty well said. I don't know if I have much to add. If you like what you saw here, make sure to go to thefantasybros.com. That's where you'll be able to find all of our work in season. Myself, Justin, and John will all be doing stuff there. And I think that'll do it for the night. I'm sure we'll be back again soon. There's lots of preseason football to talk about. And then we hit the real season, and then it gets intense. So I'm sure we'll see you again soon. Thanks for tuning in.